Welcome to Bill the Drone Reviewer Podcast, episode 29, Rotor Talk Live. Very special guest, Billy Kyle. Got that coming up next. Last night, Marcus Crawford and I hosted Rotor Talk Live, and we were privileged to have on Billy Kyle as our very special guest last night. We talked about a number of areas, including the iPhone 11, the proper tablet or smartphone for your drone, the state of affairs with DJI and their drones and drone releases, Part 107s, and a whole lot more. So without any further ado, let's play that episode in its entirety. Good evening. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 2, Episode 38. Very special guest, Billy Kyle, is in the house. We'll get to Billy in just a second. I'm joined by Mr. Marcus Crawford. Marcus, how are you this evening?
Darn good, Bill. Yeah, having a good day today.
Awesome. Ron Brown is... I knew that was going to happen.
That's the first thing that I remember to do when I jump in is mute the audio from YouTube.
Yeah, so I mute it right on YouTube, right? That's the way
there we are. I muted it on YouTube. We're good now. Okay. Anyway, Billy, how are you this evening?
Doing good. I just got back from class, and I've got a whole ton of cleaning ahead of me. I just moved into a new place, and it's a little bit different behind me. And I've kind of got like a little office space that I've still totally got to destroy and set up.
Oh man, I don't. And so, are you a junior or senior?
Senior. So it was my last 2 semesters. I'm very excited to be done.
Oh, I was going to trust me. I know the feeling, and I can tell you this. Okay, for me, it's like, all right, everybody talks about, oh, go get your master's degree. Oh, this. I'll tell you what, the moment I got my slip of paper says I'm done, I said, that's it. Okay.
I'm out.
I'm with you. 120%. We're done here. We're gone.
Exactly.
A lot to talk about tonight. And one of the first things that I want to talk about, we're going to get to one of Billy's videos that it defines the word dope, okay? It really does define that word here. But one of the things I know, the new iPhones has come out. I know Billy and Ron and Marcus are getting theirs. And one of the things I want to talk about is, a lot of people last week, what are you talking about iPhones for? Well, one of the things, and Marcus brought it up on one of his videos recently, I think it was the FEMI video, about how the app uses the processing power of the iPhone. Billy, I want to just get your thoughts on this right now.
So here's the thing. I think that a phone is a vital tool when it comes to flying. Whether it be your phone, whether it be your tablet, you've got to have something that you can fly off of. You can also get, like, for DJI, their smart controller, their integrated screens, and they work great. But for everybody, probably 75% of the people flying drones, they're going to use their phone or their tablet. Now, for me, I know that there was 2 major things. Well, probably one major thing that I was really running into when using my iPhone XS Max, and that's the battery life. I mean, I use this thing to fly my drone. You can have the remotes sometimes charge up your mobile device, which is fine. But if you're flying something like a Mavic 2, the output is just not going to be strong enough to charge your phone. So it basically dies just a little bit slower when it's plugged in. And if you're flying all day and you suck, or you use 2 hours of screen on time for the DJI Go app or whatever Explorer or the Autel Explorer app or whatever app you're going to be using, that's a lot of battery life. And I find myself midway through the day saying, oh, wow, I'm at 20%. I've got to charge. So a big thing about the iPhone XS, what is it? The iPhone 11 Pro Max, that is the one I purchased. It's going to have longer battery life, which is just great because that means I can fly longer. I don't have to continue to charge my phone. And I think that the bigger screen, like the XS Max, this is a really good size screen to fly with, especially with the Mavic. It fits perfectly in the remote.
Marcus, what about your thoughts?
Yeah, well, so I was thinking just like what Billy was. Battery life is a big deal. So I ordered the 11 Pro Max for the same reason. I've got a 10S right now, and if I'm out, if I fly more than a couple of batteries, I better be plugging this thing in someplace to get it charged. Because evidently the Go4 app is must be pretty intensive. Well, and I typically am doing a screen recording too, so it uses up a lot of processing power and battery life. Hence the point of getting the most processing power that you can, as well as battery life. So I agree with Billy. I think the Max for a drone flyer is probably a smart choice.
Yeah,
I also
go ahead,
I see Gboy185 says that the iPhone 11 screen now has 1200 nits. I don't know the exact nit count. I actually think it might only be 1,000. If it's 1200, that's great. But I mean, look, it's a very bright display now. They've increased the brightness on the display. So that's another win too. I mean, I know for me when I'm flying, I've got to like fly with my back to the sun so that I can use my body to I guess cast a shadow over the screen so I can see what the hell I'm looking at.
I think Ken said something, he had like, it was like 800, 900 sustained, and it'll do like 1200 max. I think that's
okay.
That's what that is.
Right. That's 1200 peak, 800 sustained.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
yeah, that's, and one of the things, and I went back and I revisited, and I think Billy and Marcus, I think you may remember, Rick Smith put out a great series of videos on, iPhone versus Android, and, the whole debate about all that stuff. And, one of the things that he really emphasized, and I think this is something I think people need to understand, is the code base for the DJI Go 4 app. It's the same code base that's used by Apple. Okay. And that's why there's such a seamless transition. But in saying that, though, I will say this, and in a pinch, I've used my Galaxy Note 8. For example, I was out and for some reason my cable wasn't working, but, or my smart controller wasn't working, but I had my backup. I used my phone. It's a seamless experience. I had absolutely no problems. And the nice thing about it was it fit right in the grips of the Mavic 2. I mean, there was I had no problems with that whatsoever. So, and I know this is one of those debates I think that's going to go on and on and on forever about stuff. It's one of those things.
I got a question for both of you. So I've got an iPad Mini 4 that I've used quite a bit, and I've noticed lately, since some of the updates in the Go 4 app, and it may even be updates with the Mavic 2 as well, I don't know, but I noticed that even my iPad Mini 4 is getting a little bit laggy once in a while, particularly if I'm doing a screen recording at the same time. And it never used to do that. So it tells me that there must be something that's using more resources.
Well, I used to have the Mini 4 pretty much dedicated strictly for flying, but I got really frustrated with it because I continued to get a notification in the top left corner saying that my CPU was overloaded. I would have to make sure that all of my apps were closed in the background. I couldn't even have like photos or messages open. I had to close every single app other than the DJI Go app. And then it would work fine. But just like you said, if you want to screen record and if you want to also fly at the same time, you can forget about it because it's gonna come back laggy. So I sold that. I bought the iPad Mini 5, and that's been a much better experience because it's got the upgraded internals. But I mean, it really fell off quick. I bought the iPad Mini 4 probably when it must have been like a year after the Mavic Pro came out, and it was working fine. But just like you said, as updates came out for both iOS as well as the DJI Go app, it just kind of fell off.
Well, Billy, that's a good thing that you brought. I bought mine after I watched a video by Ed Ricker when he talked about the 4. And I said, you know what? I've had the same thing with mine, and now finally I've got my 4 paid off. And I'm gonna upgrade to a 5 because I need that extra product. Because like you said, you shut everything else down, it's okay. But the thing that really kicks me is when I'm doing a screen recording, that thing lags so far behind. It's like nobody's business. I mean, it's just atrocious. Trying to keep up with all that stuff. Okay. One of the other things that I want to talk about, and we're gonna get to this video, and trust me, when I use the word dope, it doesn't even begin to describe this video that Billy's gonna show us. You're graduating next year, which is absolutely fantastic, and hearty congratulations, because I'll tell you what, it's trust me, after having gone through college, I know what it's like, and when you're done, you're done. Okay, for me,
I can't wait.
You're the same way. Okay. what are your plans post-graduation? You know, continue your drone business, YouTube. What are your thoughts about that?
It's going to be a mixture of both. It's going to be what I'm doing right now. I find that being able to do my drone business outside of YouTube and, you know, outside of college not only gives me a lot of real world experience, but it also, you know, it allows me to support myself. I've only got like rent that I've got to pay. There's not many bills to pay, but in terms of the clients that I have right now, they seem to be growing. And it's funny because I'll sit here and my phone will ring and I'll pick it up and it's somebody I've never talked to calling about drone services. Like one of the most random calls that I've gotten is this company in my area that builds ponds, and they want drone photos of their ponds. And it's just cool to be able to grow that clientele base. So after college, I do want to continue to YouTube and do my drone business on the side. Maybe more YouTube on the side, and the drone business will be my biggest thing. But yeah, another thing that I've kind of been talking about on my channel recently is agriculture. I've been trying to partner up with a lot of farmers. I think that out of all of these different industries, agriculture is one of the biggest areas where drones are going to have, I guess, the biggest impact, because they can scan an entire field in minutes. It can process in maybe an hour, and you've got a really great top-down view of your entire field. You can view the elevation as well as the plant health, and that saves you days, potentially weeks, of going and combing over 40 to 50 acres. So yeah, that's my plan after college. And I think that, you know, I think that's something that I'm doing right now. And I don't mean any disrespect to the kids that I go to school with, but I go into these classes and kids that don't have the real world experience, they kind of fall behind. And you know, I feel like I'm sitting here and I'm learning some of the things in class. I don't know where I would be without the real world experience I've gotten, because I feel like that's in a way what's taught me the most. So I'm really fortunate for being able to kind of, I don't know, do this on the side.
Well, you know, that's, you know, and I think one of the things, you really hit something good with the agricultural thing, because I know, you know, especially in Pennsylvania, I don't know about New Jersey, but I think you probably saw some of Ron's, I don't know if you saw any of Ron's videos lately when he went back to where he's from, and he showed, you know, it's all Pennsylvania. People don't realize Pennsylvania is an agricultural state. There are so many farms there, and the opportunity for agriculture is just mind boggling. And, you know, it's the thing down here in Florida too. It's like on my way to work every day, I passed everything I pass. It's all agricultural area that I pass. So, I mean, this is a huge opportunity.
Well, here's something that's pretty interesting, and you guys might laugh at this. The fields that I've been scanning are hemp fields. They're medical marijuana fields. The license just became legal up in Connecticut, and they're growing medical marijuana. Now, here's the thing about this crop is that it's a much more high value crop than, say, corn or wheat or something like that. So, you know, those farmers that are growing corn or soybeans or whatever, right? They're not going to be as valuable. So they might just go and buy a drone themselves. They might do it every month and just kind of analyze the trends. But if you've got a crop where, like, let's say you lose 20% of it and you're out hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars, that's going to be a point in time where you want to bring somebody in to do scans with the drone, either weekly or bi-weekly, so that you can jump on a problem before something actually happens. So, I mean, medical marijuana, I told him, pay me in product.
So here's another question for you. Okay. And, you know, and we're going to get to this video because I'm just my fingers itching for this one. Will you be looking at getting like an agricultural type of drone from DJI? Because I know they have a boatload of them.
So it's interesting because a lot of the agricultural drones that they sell are purely for spraying. And when you get into like the whole pesticide thing, there's different licenses that are involved when you want to spray chemicals. It's something I'm definitely looking into. I'm barely scratching the surface right now in terms of agriculture, and these spraying drones are really interesting. They actually just released a new one called the Agras T16, I believe. And it's upgraded from top to bottom. It's got RTK on it. It's got a little like radio sensor or whatever they call it on the front, so it can actually it can avoid obstacles, but it's like really good. It's like much better than just the camera obstacle avoidance. And one thing that just totally blew my mind is that you can have a Phantom 4 RTK scan an entire field it'll note where all of the plants are, and the drone will go out and only spray the plants. So if you
Oh, man.
so if you go and you watch the product video, which it's kind of hard to find, you've got to do some digging on DJI's site. It showed a cliff with trees periodically, and this drone was going up the cliff. It was scaling the terrain perfectly, keeping the same amount of distance. And every tree it went over, it would spray, and then in between it would stop, and then it would spray, and then it would stop. And if you think about it, if you've got plants or trees that are more spread out, you're saving a ton of money by not just spraying in between them. So combining that technology, it's mind-blowing.
That's incredible. Well, before we get to the video, I haven't had a chance to welcome people. Drone Worship is here. Whizbang99 is here. FSU Grad 03 is here. Let's see. We have Remote Pilots Australia Aries here. Scottish Drone View is here. Mike Kinney is here. Mitch, old guy in a drone. Josh is here from Parks and Tech. Art is here. Drone Shots is here. Okay, we got this covered. Now, guys, Billy, why don't you set up this video a little bit before I go ahead and put it on?
Sure. So Ken came up to New York. We always kind of go back and forth. I'll go down there and we'll fly some spots, and he'll come up here and we'll fly some spots. I think, though, that I've got the better spots to fly because Florida's cool, but it's just beach, 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 beach. Up here in Philly, you've got like the city. We can drive to all these different places. There's a lot of abandoned buildings, and abandoned buildings are like my favorite thing to fly. So there's a lot of bridges, a lot of different terrain. You know, we've got a bunch of hills, mountains, and stuff. So there's a ton of really cool things to fly. And one of the places we haven't really touched is upstate New York. So as we were going up, we stopped off of the Palisades Parkway, and we flew over the Hudson River. And then we kind of captured some of the cliffs there. The Palisades Parkway is an absolutely gorgeous road. And what's actually funny is when we showed up, we were flying around. Some guy pulls up and comes up to us with a radio, and we're like, oh, we're about to get kicked out. But actually, there was a boat race going on along the Hudson. And he said, yeah, we're getting ready to go in about 30 minutes. And they were these speedboats that were coming. I asked him, I said, what's the top speed that they're going to do? He said, oh, about 120, 140 miles an hour. So they come ripping down the Hudson River, and I tried to chase them with the Inspire 2. It wasn't even close. It's not like I was like just on their tail. It was like they were fully blowing me away, which was really cool. So we got to fly that. I sent the guy the footage, and he was thrilled, and it was cool to be able to do that. But it's apparently a memorial race for someone that died and was very influential with boat racing. So it was really cool. Then we went even further north to Croton Dam. It's the Croton Gorge Park. And I've seen some photos of this place, and it looked really cool. So I said, all right, well, you know, I want to try to get this photo from a specific angle. But when we showed up and we kind of like walked out through the clearing, it was just like, I was like a kid in a candy shop. There was so many different areas to fly at. And that was one of the last spots we went to. So Ken and I probably only had like 2 batteries each. And I wish it was the first one because I would have drained every single battery there.
Yeah, I'll bet you that's the most photographed dam in the world.
It probably is.
Yeah, I've never been there, but I've seen so many pictures of it. Yeah,
it's really cool. And I guess it was built in the late 1800s. It was finished at, I guess, like the turn of the century or whatever it's called. And looking at that dam and seeing how much water is being blocked, it's incredible to think how they even built that thing. Like, how do you build a dam? How do you block the water off and then build the dam? It just, I don't get it.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and share this here now. This is
awesome.
I'm going to go ahead and unmute it, and then Billy, that is the most dope video I think I've ever seen.
Thank you. Hey, you know what? I saw that was a fake video. I've got no dislikes on it. That's impossible.
Yes, 198 to 0. Okay.
Come on, there's usually one or two.
Why don't you tell everybody, at first, if I wouldn't have known what the title was on the video, I'd have sworn you'd have was your Mavic 2 Pro. Okay.
Well, yeah, you know what? But that says something, because the Mavic 2 Pro's camera is so good. And it's insane to think that they fit that 1-inch sensor into such a small body. But the one thing that might give it away, the Mavic 2 Pro, is I came up the waterfall right there. You're not able to pitch the gimbal up that high. And that's the thing with the Inspire 2, is you can look up about 30-ish degrees upwards and without any obstructions, which is nice, because if you try to fly fast with the Mavic 2, then the gimbal just shoots down, which is kind of a pain.
Think about this, and this is what I want people to think about here. Okay, not only is Billy, having to navigate through this, okay, which my heart is still in the back of my throat right here. He's working the camera at the same time. Here, okay?
Yeah.
God, it's just like, you scare me. You're so good, Billy. You really do.
Thank you.
Seriously, man.
Thank you.
I'm probably going to go to bed. See what I do at night. I have my iPad. My wife's on her phone. She's looking at videos, and I'm on my iPad. I'm probably going to watch this. She said, "Didn't you see that before?" Yeah. How many times? Oh, about 10. It's
well, you know what? I really want to go back there, because first of all, it's like an overcast day. I'm trying to look for like some nice crisp sunlight. But also imagine being there surrounded by all of the leaves changing, like in peak fall. So I'm definitely going to try to get back out there when the conditions are better. But yeah, that spot is so awesome to fly. If anybody's in the New York area, I'm 4 hours away from it, and it was worth the drive. So if you're in the area, it's Croton Dam. Go check it out. It's an awesome place to fly. And the maintenance guys, they told me at first, they were like, "I don't think you're allowed to fly drones in here, but it's pretty cool." So they're cool there. They'll let you fly.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things with something like that is, I saw Ken's video earlier. Okay. I got to ask you a question. Okay. With Ken's video, he got locked in the bathroom.
So, we went to go eat at this spot, and they've got great food. It's a little shack, like right off the side of the road, but they've got amazing food. And you go up, you place your order. We went up, we ordered, and then Ken was like, "All right, I'm going to use the bathroom." So we goes in there. We were with this other guy. His name is Brian. He lives in the area, and we get together whenever I'm up in New York. And we're sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to use the bathroom once Ken is done." And I begin to see the handle jiggle, right? Like the handle's going up and down. I'm like, "Oh, Brian, he's coming out of the bathroom. Go ahead. You can use the bathroom." And he walks over, and as he's walking over, the handle starts jiggling a little faster. Like Ken can't get out, and he's panicking. So the handle is going up and down really, really fast. So I start laughing, and I'm kind of like looking from a distance, and I'm laughing. So I finally go over there, and I'm like, "Yo, Ken, you all right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm stuck." And I said, "Well, try just climbing out the window." And the window was totally blocked by like an air conditioning unit. So he couldn't do that. And the owner finally came up and just kicked the door in. That he had to. Like Ken would have been stuck in there. And the guy was like, "All right, back away from the door." And then he kicked it in. And I wanted to do the same thing, but I didn't want to like kick it in and then have to be responsible for fixing it. But the manager came in and just plowed it down.
I just was cracking up because I'm like, okay, this isn't what the video is about, but I mean, it was just one of those. I'm just crazy about that. I had a question came up. Go ahead.
I love Ken to death, but whenever he's in a situation, he just panics so heavily. Like I remember the one time we were going to the airport, and he was like going to miss his flight. Like we were late and stuck in traffic. He was, "Oh my God, I'm going to miss my flight." He's on his phone. He's finding a new flight. He's calling his wife. He's like, "Look, I'm going to be home late. Like I got to find a new flight." Like he's just going crazy, and he gets to the airport on time and he's able to get on the plane. But I'm sitting there. He's stuck inside of this small little bathroom. I can only imagine how much he's panicking.
Was there any thought of just leaving him there?
Yeah. I mean, look, that was just one more charger freed up inside of the car that I could have been charging my batteries off of. So, I kind of thought to myself, look, he'll be left at a little burger joint and he can eat. I'll pick him up on the way back.
had a question came up in the chat, and this is something that I know. I'd love to bring this up because I know, Billy, you heard it and I heard it when we went to the See the Bigger Picture event. They announced it during the event. They said, well, you will have, DJI will provide an option to be able to switch out the cameras between the Zoom and the Pro. There's never been anything on that.
I know, and it's interesting. The only thing that I've seen on it is people online on YouTube actually taking it apart, and it seems to be pretty easy. It seems like it's a couple of screws you got to take off. You can take off the gimbal assembly, and then you can put it back on. I don't think I would do it myself. I don't know if you're flying a Mavic 2 Pro and somehow you get a hold of just the camera on the zoom and you put the zoom on there, will the DJI Go app even give you the function to zoom the camera? Like is it in the coding because you have a Mavic 2 Pro? I really don't know. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, they actually harped on that a lot in their presentation. They talked about it for probably a good 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It was on a couple of different slides, so you would have expected it to be available almost like right then and there. You could have done it right out of the gate if you wanted to. Doesn't make sense.
Hey, so we have in the chat, we've got Parks and Tech, and he does that all the time. He bought, I can't remember if he had the Zoom and he brought the Pro camera or the other way around, but he literally says it takes him about 5 minutes to switch the camera now.
Yeah, Lauren also says he or she has done a few, and it takes about 10 minutes to switch. So
yeah, and it's like you said, Billy, it's nothing I would ever attempt, but the guys that do it seem to have it down. So
yeah, and you know what? I really think that with DJI in the future, we're not going to see anything until 2020 because that's when they're dedicated to implementing AirSense or whatever it is. Yeah. So I don't think we'll see anything new from them until the new year turns around. But I know that they said in an interview, one of their reps said that they were dedicated to providing modular systems, and we see high-end modular systems. But why leave out these smaller drones? I mean, even if it was a simple swap, and if I could go on there and buy a camera, do you know how many simple like single camera assemblies they'd sell? They would just be able to make so much more money.
Oh yeah, I mean that makes a whole lot of sense. Well, the one thing that I did hear is that at Airworks that they are going to be coming out with some type of commercial drone.
It would be interesting.
What it is, I don't know if it's going to be like a Matrice or to build upon that or something else. I don't know, but this is and it makes perfect sense because that's a commercial drone conference. That's what Airworks is.
Yeah, it does make sense. And you know what? I feel like I see a ton of these different drones out there. And I feel like DJI has just been so focused on their Matrice lineup. I'm surprised that they don't branch out and expand and try to make different versions and variations of drones. Bill, when you have the time, Bill, Marcus, and anybody in here, when you have the time, go and check out the brand new Alta drone. It's a brand new drone. It's a cinema drone. So you mount like RED cameras underneath, or you can mount really big cinema cameras underneath. And it looks incredible. It looks like it totally blows anything that DJI makes out of the water. They're spreading wings. They're old drones to inspire. This drone, they said they got up to a maximum speed of 88 miles per hour, and there was no vibrations or shaking in the drone. So you can fly at that 88 miles an hour, and it's probably about the size of a maybe bigger than a Matrice, probably more on the airframe of like an M600 Matrice, but probably smaller than that. And it looks incredible. So when you guys have the time, go and check it out. That drone looks like the one to get if you're going to be shooting movies.
I just saw that came across on my timeline on Twitter today. I just saw that you brought that up. I'm definitely going to check something like that out. I mean, and one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I know Marcus has given us some updates on his spreadsheet, and he's been tracking things as far as DJI is concerned. The whole thing, the whole cycle thing, and let's call it, if you will, since 2013, it really hasn't fit a logical pattern, but it's like every few months, DJI is coming out with some kind of a drone release. Okay. It's like, okay. And, it's the old thing. It's like the old Pavlov's dog thing. It's like you ring a bell, the dog's going to come and get the food. All right. Well, DJI, you know, we were conditioned, let's say every 4 or 5 months that they're coming out with some type of a drone. And then this year it's been like dead silence.
Dead.
I mean, you know, and people are just like, you know, because I think you've noticed it too. All right. And I've noticed this generally across the board. You know, our videos are still doing well, but not as well as a year when they've had a drone come out. Would you tend to agree with something like that?
I do agree. I mean, I miss there being a new drone and being able to create content. And there's also a real big spike on the channel. Like, I feel like not only does it bring more people to my channel and other people's channels, but also it just makes people who haven't flown drones before more interested. So the community continues to get bigger and bigger. But if anything, right now I feel like it's almost shrinking, because people might say, well, oh, restrictions are too heavy, I'm not going to be flying my drone anymore, I'm going to sell it or whatever. So I don't know, it does kind of suck. And I have noticed, like, in terms of analytics, that like the views and subscribers and whatever are going down. Like it's not that I'm losing, but it's just like the daily count is going down because there's not much new to talk about. It's like what I did with Ken doing these flight videos. That's one of the only things that I can think of right now to be doing, other than, I mean, everything under the sun has been covered about the Mavic 2.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I've almost got to go out of the way and buy these new drones. Like, for example, the Paradanafi, when I picked that up, that's been a really nice, fresh thing to add on. Something that is totally unrelated, but Brad Hendo just said in the chat, he said, are you guys excited to find out more about the SkyDo 2, possibly a remote included? You know, that seems to be the only thing to look forward to right now. I don't know what else is going to be on the horizon. You know, we did just get the Mantis G from Unique, but that Unique, I'm really not all that big on it. But SkyDo 2, the new drone from them could be awesome. The tech in those drones are great. If a remote is included, that would be even better. But the biggest thing about it is the camera. Like that really wide angle camera that they had on that drone just doesn't make it good for cinematic video and high resolution photos. And that's what I buy these drones for. So if it's still going to be the same like selfie type of drone where it follows you and it's got a really wide angle camera on it, it's just not going to be for me.
You know, it kind of the camera and you know, and I'm just going to make it real simple. Camera to me, kind of paraphrasing, it's kind of like mounting a GoPro camera on it. Okay.
Yep.
Because it has that wide angle, you know, and I love the view. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the cinematic view that people are looking for. You know, especially.
I agree.
You know, whenever you're doing a cinematic video or Ken's doing one, you know, or if I try one, you know, I'm not looking for that. Okay. I want to get a tight shot. I want to get things in the frame. Okay. And that's not going to happen with that. It just won't happen. So, you know,
well, and with the Inspire 2, I've got the X4S camera, and the real reason I upgraded to the Inspire 2 was just for the better speed, the camera range, the gimbal range. But the X4S has that fixed focal length. I mean, you can't add a lens to it, you can't zoom on it. But I've been looking at these other cameras that are made for the Inspire 2 and being able to put like a 50mm lens on there and really zoom in. I mean, you could be 100 feet away from something and that thing's going to look like it's right on your doorstep, especially compared to the cameras that we have right now. So that's something I'd love to do because that just adds a whole different dynamic to aerial cinematography.
So would you be looking at possibly, you know, getting that camera for your Inspire 2?
Definitely, but probably not anytime soon. I even think that, look, the Inspire 2, it's as old as the Phantom 4 Pro, the first one. And you've got to think that they're going to be implementing some sort of update to it, whether it be a version 2, like an Inspire 2 version 2. You know, so I'm waiting because when they jumped from the Inspire 1 to the Inspire 2, then all of those cameras weren't compatible. So then if there's like an Inspire 3 coming out in a year and I buy this camera, which is, after it's all said and done, about $6,000, I'm going to be pretty pissed off.
yeah. I kind of thought so with something like that. So, I mean, yeah. But yeah, I think the other thing with the SkyDo 2, I think Ken and I, we talked about this last week was, you know, the SkyDo 1 was like what, $2,800. I mean, that was just, that's unreachable for most people.
Look, and I understand, I guess, what they want to boost the price up because of the technology inside of it. They need to cover their research and their development. They need to cover, you know, it's their first drones. They need to try to make their money back. And did they? Maybe. Hopefully this new drone coming out is a little less expensive because they can take some of the tech from that first SkyDo drone, put it into their new drone, and then maybe it saves a little bit on the cost for us as the consumer, because $2,800, you can almost buy, well, now with the price increases, you can buy like 1.5 Mavic 2 Pros, but at the original price point, you could have bought like 2 of them for the price of that one SkyDo, which is a no-brainer.
I know Marcus told me before you got on tonight, he was telling me, he's been keeping a great spreadsheet of things, and he said the Mavic Pro Platinum has gone up, just not a just the package by itself, $1,100. Okay. With all the, the price increases and availability. I mean, I was kind of amazed to hear that a drone that old and that technology, they're still increasing prices. Of course, it's, that tariff thing is just a mess right now.
It really is a mess. And I think that when it was originally released, the Mavic Pro Platinum was actually $1,099, but they were selling that alongside the original Mavic Pro. So those 2 drones were like the compact foldable consumer drones that everybody wanted. So they sold both of them. If you wanted the upgraded ESCs and the new props and the new paint job, you paid the extra $100. But now that has replaced the original Mavic Pro, and I saw it for as low as $799. So to hear that it's back up to $1,099, that's crazy, because that drone is 2 years old.
That is one of the other things I wanted to talk about. I don't know where Marcus went to, and I wanted to get his input on this as well too. Is your and Ken's podcast? I absolutely love what you guys are doing with that. That format it's perfect.
Thank you.
I know from doing an audio only one, it is so much easier.
Look, video is half the battle. And being able to just talk in the mic, you don't have to worry about lighting. We don't have to transfer files back and forth. It really is a breeze. It's nice. And I think that's how a podcast is supposed to be. We actually dropped the ball. We didn't upload any last week. Both him and I were so back at it this week. And you know what? In terms of podcasts, I listen to them all the time. Like I drive around and I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm walking to class, I'm listening to a podcast. I'm doing work around the apartment or the house, I'm listening to a podcast with my AirPods in all the time.
Yeah, and I think, and I really like your guys' content. I mean, see, that's something I think it provides so much more flexibility in terms of what you can do with content, because a lot of times, you can't really, you can't show this kind of graphic, or you can't do this kind of a thing. With a podcast, you can cover so much more ground, I think.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, if you think about it, a video, if it goes anything over like 15 minutes at that point in time, somebody look at it and say, all right, you know what, maybe I'll watch it and see if it's worth my 15 minutes. But when you jump into a podcast, you're expecting something that's going to be an hour. So it allows you to go a lot more in depth, because if you're trying to cover a very broad topic in, an 8-minute YouTube video, you're definitely going to have to skip over some of the details. Whereas you can go into the nitty gritty with the podcast, and it's cool because it sparks a conversation, just like your live stream right now. We're able to go back and forth and talk and chat. It's not like we're restricted to 8 minutes and we've got to try to cram all the information in.
Yeah. I think one of the things, Marcus is rejoining us.
Did you
Everything
drop
okay,
out?
Marcus?
I saw he left.
Yeah, I lost internet there for a second. It was.
Okay. Well, glad you're back. I wanted you to go ahead, and talk a little bit about the spreadsheet. What Billy and I touched upon a little bit. Well, why don't you kind of give us an update on where things are with that?
Yeah. You want me to put it up on the screen?
Absolutely, please do.
Yep,
So
yep.
what does the spreadsheet track?
Well, I'm just tracking the DJI and the availability of the consumer drones and the price changes.
Gotcha.
It's pretty darn simple, really. Let me know when you can see it.
It's got there. We go.
I've got it here.
Okay, so some recent changes here. Let's start at the very top. The Mavic 2 Zoom is available again as new, and that when I looked at it a week ago was not available, as well as the Mavic 2 Zoom with smart controller became available again. And when I looked at it a week ago, those were not there. So I'm just looking at the changes here, Bill. And then the other change that I saw today was the Mavic Pro Platinum. They finally got around to raising the price on that. $150 for the Platinum. It's $1149 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. And the Fly More combo, hey, $1,500, boys.
Oh.
Went up to $200. And then the Platinum last week was not available as a refurb, and it is now at $839. You remember about, before in August, what was that? It was $689, I think, or maybe even less than that for the Mavic Pro Platinum. Anyway, or $729. I guess I had it right there. Anyway, it's gone up quite a bit. So nothing else has changed. You cannot buy a Spark anymore from DJI. If you want a new Spark, you're going to have to buy it from a reseller. DJI doesn't sell them. And the whole Phantom line are just unavailable. Although, as you reported, the V2.0 actually shows on the website again. They took it completely off the website for a couple of days, and now it's back. But they haven't been available to sell, and they did raise the price significantly. So anyway, there you have it. What my concern is, a Mavic 2 Pro with smart controller now is $2,200, and how many people are they pricing out of the market? That's the concern, and I'm not blaming it all on DJI. There's a lot of reasons I know with the tariffs and other things, but to what we were talking about earlier with excitement about the hobby, this does not help.
I see SkyDo Drone SkyDo's Drone View says, do you think the changes are because of them sorting out the fraud things with the vendors? I don't think so. I think it has to do with tariffs. And I think that they actually confirmed that through Twitter, that because of the recent tariffs, they're increasing the prices. But for them to be increasing the prices on products that are 2 years old, over 2 years old, it doesn't make sense, because look, their profit margin on some of these drones, even the older ones, are probably pretty high. And for them to basically raise the price on those older drones is almost like an FU to the consumer, in my opinion. Just like you said, how many people are they pricing out of the market? $2,100 for a Mavic 2 Pro with a smart controller. There was already a pretty big barrier to entry, and that barrier to entry is just getting higher. That's if you want to go with DJI, but look, there are a bunch of other options. We were just talking about the Parrot, Autel Evo. Even though the Evo is going up in price a little bit, it's not nearly as expensive as the drones that DJI is selling. But man, you know what? If there was like a really quality American company that came in and made a drone, made in America, do you know how many people would jump on that? I mean, that's the biggest thing about DJI, is that they're a Chinese company, and everybody's like, oh, well, I don't want to fly that China crap. I don't want them knowing my location, whatever. There's an infinite amount of things that people can say. If there was an American drone company that came in, they would kick some ass.
You're right. You're 100% right. I mean, people would fly off the shelves, Billy.
Oh yeah, they would clean up the market. I mean, I don't know who I could see doing that, whether it's a brand new company that comes from the woodworks and starts making these incredible drones, and over 2 years they've made so much progress that they're up to the level of DJI and where they're at right now. Or maybe if it's already like an established company. I mean, have you heard of like Apple making a drone? Like, people are like, oh, look at the brand new Apple drone or whatever. Like, look, Apple would never get into the drone market. Apple would get into the car market before they started building drones.
Right. Yeah.
And I've heard a ton of rumors about that. But yeah, I mean, look, if an American company came in, they would seriously do some damage on DJI, especially because I'm sure that America is their biggest market, and for them to take away a chunk of their biggest market, that could see, and that not only would it help with prices, but it would help with innovation, because if there's a company that is knocking on DJI's doorstep, that just means that DJI will come out with the Mavic 3 and the Mavic 4 even faster, and we'll see better drones from both sides. I mean, that's what we need. That would be our saving grace, is a better drone company.
That's healthy. That's healthy competition. The free market system really does work, and it works well. It's just, right now, it's like when you're looking at those kind of drones, there's only one name in town. I mean, there's only one, as I said, there's only one sheriff in town, kind of a thing. wanted to talk a little bit about some of the other type of drones here. I know Marcus and Ron, I know, they both have the Hubsan Zeno.
Zeno Nation.
Zeno Nation. There you go. Marcus has the FEMI X8. Those are, to me, they're not toy drones and they're not DJI level drones. They're kind of like fit in the middle.
Well, look, we've got consumer drones, we've got professional drones, we've got the prosumer drones. So what do we call like between consumer and toy? What is that? Consumer? I don't know.
Well, the Zeno, it's just barely above a toy. Let's face it. I mean, it you can't call it a toy drone, but it's not much more than that. But it's still a ton of fun to fly. The one that's probably more competition is that FEMI X8 SE, and it had a pretty rough start, but they're getting that thing refined pretty good. I would put it on the level of maybe the original. Well, not quite, I guess, but it's approaching the level of the original Mavic 4 Mavic Pro. I meant to say Phantom 4, Mavic Pro, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
I sold my Phantom 4 today, so yeah.
You know what? Two things. First of all, I feel like the Phantom 4 is like an ex-girlfriend that you hate, but also won't leave you alone at the same time. It's like it keeps coming onto the store. It keeps going away. Like when it comes, you're like, oh God, it's so expensive. Why do they even sell this anymore? But then once they take it off, everybody's like, where did the Phantom go? I still want to be able to buy this.
You forgot one thing. It keeps asking you for money too.
And now it's asking you for even more money. But SkyDo also said, but what company wants to do that and is willing to challenge DJI? Look, if I had the smarts about how to build a drone, I would do it right now. I would track down investors. I mean, look, there's a pretty good pitch for it. The tariffs are making people turn away from DJI, knowing the drone market, knowing how many people hate buying from China and would love to support an American company. Those are the only two things you need. If you sold a drone that was $1,000 and it was good, like it was really good, it's a home run.
Oh yeah. And the technology is out there. And see, that's the thing I think a lot of people don't really get. Okay. None of this is like so proprietary. It's so, not available. Okay. Because, you look at like SkyDo starting up, which is probably a good example. They're taking something from the ground up. And, to be able to do this kind of stuff, this isn't like rocket science here. This isn't like trying to build a rocket and go to Mars like our buddy Elon's trying to do. Okay. This is just, I mean, this stuff's been around for a while. It's not, they're not really, I don't know. I'm trying to use the words. They're not really, they're breaking new ground, but in a way they're not really breaking new ground. You know what I'm saying?
So SkyDo is backed by Intel, which gives me a lot of hope for what they might come up with.
That's a good point, Marcus.
That is great. That's a great point. I totally lost my train of thought. But yeah, look, I think that SkyDo is a really great. It's a really great glimmer of hope for the future. I really can't wait to see the SkyDo too. I hope that they hype it up. I know that they've already started. I know that they're saying like thinking of buying a drone. Wait, that's like their tagline or whatever. But I hope that they hype this up. I hope they have a huge event for it. I hope that it is priced well. I hope that it is. I can't wait for it. Honestly, I barely even thought about it before coming on this show. But now that we've been talking, I've gotten so excited for it.
I am too. Because I saw that one that picture that Kesterly put out on Drone DJ, and it showed the guy with a remote. And, that really, I think that really piqued a lot of people's interest when that got out there, because, the whole idea of an autonomous drone sounds cool, but you know what? Okay. We all, the three of us, and I know multiply that times X, how many, we want to have a controller in our hands. I mean, really, when it comes down to it.
Exactly. And, when they released the Spark, the Mavic Air, even the original Mavic Pro, you can fly it around with your phone. You don't want a touch screen. You don't want to use your phone. Like, yeah, okay, It saves a little bit of cost, but I'm going to spend an extra $250 to get a nice remote. Just give me some sticks.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
yeah, totally agree.
Billy, I got, and we're kind of going to change gears here a little bit and talk about Part 107s. Okay.
Okay.
I know, last year when we had the meetup down here in Tampa, you and Ken, jumped on the bandwagon, got your Part 107s and everything.
The bandwagon,
yeah. So I wanted to revisit this here.
Anyway, I'm sorry, Bill.
Because I wanted to get your take on it now. I know both you and Ken, especially, and I know Ken is probably thinking going full time, maybe some point in the future.
He's talking about it.
He's doing exceptional work. I mean, I can't say that enough. And I told him
his work is great, and he's he's improved tenfold. And it's awesome to see
when he's first started out. So, what are your thoughts now? As far as, let's say, hobbyists are concerned, should you get your Part 107? Should you not get your Part 107?
Look, I think that ever since they instituted Lance, whatever you want to call it, I think that it's a home run for hobbyists now, because it's an easier way to be able to fly in these controlled airspaces. But here's the thing: some of these airspaces don't have LANC set up yet. So I don't know. I mean, even when I'm flying in New York, right? There's a little area that I fly from, the Colgate Clock. You can fly from right there and fly over the Hudson River and get some really great shots. But if you want to fly anywhere else, even like JFK, and there's another airport right there that on Kitty Hawk is totally grayed out. You can't even request authorization because they don't accept it. And that's a bummer for not only the hobbyist pilots, but also the Part 107 pilots. So look, if you're having fun and if you're flying your drone around, there's really no need to get it. But if you really want to get serious and start a drone business, then of course you're going to need to get it. And I don't mean to change your topic here, but on the topic of the 107, right? I was shooting a house. There's an older photographer I work with, and he hires out drone pilots just because he's a little bit older and he just does the photos and he doesn't really want to get into the whole drone flying. But he said, here's the address. Can you make sure that we're able to fly? And it was inside of the Philadelphia International Airport airspace. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm right on the edge of this. I see no planes near me whatsoever. And it's somehow an issue that I'm flying in controlled airspace under like 100 feet to shoot photos of a house. It blows my mind that they try to classify these drones as something that are so much bigger than they actually are. Like the FAA is making these drones seem like they are 10 times their size flying through the sky at hundreds of miles an hour when they're not.
Well, most people, and see, here's the connotation, okay? And I've heard this before. Most people have two images of a drone in their mind, okay? The iconic Phantom 4 image kind of a thing. Yep. And the other one is the drones that the military uses, okay?
Yeah, the Reaper drones.
That people think. And people think when you hear the word drone, you think of one of those two. And people equate, sometimes they're thinking more of the military style drone. And, and it's just like, it's education. I mean, people just don't get it. One of the other things with the Part 107 I wanted to touch on, okay? And I just did a podcast on what the FAA could learn from the FCC. I am a licensed ham radio operator, okay? I have 3 levels of licenses. I have the highest tier, which is called an amateur extra. It costs $15 to take each test, okay? And
that's really cheap.
Yeah, tests are administered by local ham radio organizations, usually like at a public library or church or something like that. And they're what they do is they have a pool of questions, and the pool of questions that they're going to ask. Like the first 2 exams ask a total, I believe it's 30 questions on each one, and the last one asks 50 questions. All right, and you have to get the same thing. It's like about 70% to pass, just like that. But where it's different is this. Okay, it was about $100 to get a course to study for it. And what was nice was they rotated the questions in and out that were actually on the exam. So every time you took a practice one, it kind of rotated them, which was great.
Gotcha.
And I love that, okay? Now, the other thing that I really like is this. I passed and I got my amateur extra back in 2015. It is good for 10 years. Okay?
Wow.
All right. And listen to this. You know how much it's going to cost me to renew it?
$0. Makes sense. That's what it should be.
And, and it's the same thing. The FAA, I can't tell you how many pilots I've had send me emails private pilots, saying number one, most if not all those questions on the exam are on the private pilot's exam, which and number two, he said $150 every 2 years, it's just nothing but a money grab by the FAA.
Yeah, and I have people ask me all the time. They're like, "Oh, hey, is that thing easy to fly?" I'm like, "Yeah, you get a hang of it under a day. There's a lot of things to learn, but you'll be able to fly it." But the biggest barrier is the test you have to take from the FAA. If you want to make money off of this thing, you gotta learn almost probably 25%. I'm not even going to give it that much credit, but you've got to learn a lot about what it takes to fly a real plane, not in terms of like actual flying it, but the logistics that go into it, like the radio frequencies, the METARs or whatever, the sectional charts. And you know what? I took that test. It's coming up on a year ago now, and I can tell you that nothing on that test has prepared me for flying a drone. It's been the information I've learned online. It's been information that I've learned from like handbooks and stuff like that. That test is no way involved with flying drones.
Well, I had Ian Tickner, and Ian, forgive me if I mispronounce your name. He's from over in the UK, and he runs a drone school over there. Okay. I had him on a Sunday afternoon. Kind of really was very eye-opening, because over there, in order to get your equivalent of your Part 107, you take your exam like this, but you also have to pass a practical exam, meaning like a hands-on, fly your drone, show an instructor you know what you're doing kind of an exam. And I am so in favor of that, because it's like you can have the book smarts, you can be able to do that, but unless you have piloting skills, you don't want people to, if you're in business, you don't want somebody out there that, oh, oops, and next thing you know, the drone is either crashed against the wall or is in the river or something,
Mm-hmm.
I got a question for both you guys. So, recently we had that deal in Saudi Arabia that their oil fields got, quote, bombed by drones. So people that don't know anything about drones, so they blew up their 10% of the world's oil supply got.
Wow, I didn't know that.
A couple days ago, and it was a drone attack. But people have been asking me, hey, are the kind of drones that you fly, could they do that? And I keep telling them, no, they don't have that kind of. But that's the public perception, that they think that drone can be that destructive, and it cannot.
From what I've seen, I've seen like ISIS and the Taliban or whatever. I see those small forces using these DJI drones. They literally rip the camera off of the bottom and they rig up like a little explosive thing under it or whatever. But with that, we're talking like little hand grenades, if that. I mean, the explosives are so small. You would need something so much larger to do that. Just like what Bill was talking about, the Reaper drone. You would literally need a military drone to do something like that.
Exactly. And plus, you'd have to be. They don't have the range that you think of when you think of what it would take to do that kind of damage. You're going to want to be 100 miles away. You're not going to want to be a mile or 2 miles away.
Because you're getting your ass blown up.
Absolutely. Before we go tonight, I want to say I want to give a shout out to Art. Art has just passed 1,000 subscribers. Art, well
That's
done.
Awesome.
Congratulations. You have earned it. You have been a faithful member of the drone community. You're doing great things. Keep up the great things. Glad you're going to spin up as well. So I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that tonight. So wanted to go ahead and get some closing thoughts. I'll start with Marcus, and then Billy, and then I'll go ahead and finish out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say, Bill, other than great conversation. Billy, when you're on, it's always interesting stuff. And
thank you.
I hate to admit it, I have not watched your video yet, but it's the first thing I'm going to do.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyway, that's about all I got. And I do want to say I did sell my Phantom 4. Can we have a moment of silence? But we're waiting for something new from DJI.
He got rid of the ex-girlfriend.
Forever. Yeah.
So why did you sell it? If you don't mind me asking, why'd you sell it?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't flying it. And
yep.
I've got other drones that I'm flying, and also in anticipation of whatever else is going to come down the pike from SkyDo, hopefully, or potentially DJI.
I'm a bit of a hoarder, like a technology collector. I love collecting stuff. And I sold my first Phantom 4, like the first drone I ever had. And man, do I wish I still had that drone. Like, would I fly it? No, but it would just be cool knowing that I still had that very first drone. And I've still got the Spark laying around and like the Mavic Air. And do they get flown all that often? No, but I'm still going to keep them. I mean, could I turn a couple $1,000s selling all the drones that I don't fly? Yes, but to me, they're like collector's pieces. They're like if I look back in 20 years and I still see that Spark, it's going to be pretty cool. Like being able to see the Spark next to whatever we have in 20 years, it's going to be awesome.
If I'm alive in 20 years, I'll be happy.
Oh, of course you'll be alive, Marcus. Don't worry about that. I want to have some closing thoughts from you.
Well, I thought it was a really great conversation. We touched on a lot. I think the coolest thing that we talked about was how much these mobile devices play a part in how much we fly, right? I've got a video coming up on the iPad. I think my second most viewed video is on the iPad Mini 4. And, even though I post a ton of drone stuff, being able to talk about other technology is really important because there's so many other things that really have a factor on how we fly our drones, and we wouldn't even really know it. I mean, even as we begin to talk about camera technology, obviously all of that camera tech will then trickle down to what we have in the drones. I mean, there's so many different things that you can talk about. You can even talk about, like, for example, SD cards, right? I mean, there's so many things that really do have a big impact on flying drones. Speaking of SD cards, the one thing I want to see from drone manufacturers going forward is 2 micro SD card slots, because I can't tell you how many times I've lost footage off of the SD card for some reason. I lost one of the SD cards. I wish I had another in the drone backing up all the footage. So that's something I'd love to see. I would even love with DJI how they have the integrated storage, being able to just fill up 8 gigs of photos on there, from like a small shoot and have 2 copies of it. I would love that.
RAID.
That's an excellent idea. Well, the first thing I want to say, and I think Billy probably gets sick of me saying this. The one thing I'm very jealous of about Billy is his age. Okay, to be your age, to be able, to be a senior in college, and with all this emerging technology that is out, it's mind blowing, and I just think that's just absolutely positively incredible. And as always, one of the things that I think I admire about you, and Ken and I talked about this, is your work ethic. Okay. And I think a lot of people don't see that. I mean, see it, but don't see it. Okay. Ken and I were talking about this, and it's just like, when he and I and Valerie were flying that one weekend, about how meticulous you are about your shots. And, he said maybe it drives him just a tad bit nuts a little bit, but
yeah, he was throwing a little bit of shade there. Let's be
Look, I'm so OCD to the point where, like, right now, I do this every single week. I tear apart my backpack. I charge everything. I make sure everything is working. Like, I'm so OCD. And it's like a gift and a curse, because I feel like everything that I put out is like, my 110% effort, and it's the best that I can do. But at the same time, I feel like I catch myself working on something for way too long. Like I'll do like a real estate shoot, and I spend hours working on the photos when I'm not getting paid for hours worth of work, so it's a blessing and a curse.
But no, and I have to say this, one of the things that I first saw about your channel that I really liked was, I mean, you excel in all areas, but I mean, when you're doing those, those tutorial videos, I mean, you really, your attention to detail is the reason you get hundreds of thousands of views on those, because people want that. That's the kind of videos people want to see. Okay, people don't want to see fluff. People want to see the cinematic, and the cinematic is great, and I absolutely love that. But boy, oh boy, the first thing that I want to know of when I get a drone, I'm going to go out to YouTube, and I'm going to find a video on how to do it. For example, when I got my Mavic Pro, the first video that I saw was, I saw one of yours, and I also saw one of Ed Ricker's too. And I bounced back and forth between your guys' videos, and that's how I learned the Mavic Pro, the original Mavic Pro, was watching your videos. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. And I think, and I think that's the reason I wanted to get started in this too, is not for the fluff, but just to get things out there, because, bottom line is, the more we're sitting at our desk or in front of a camera, the less we're flying our drone. Okay. And I think and I know Marcus can answer in the affirmative of that as well. That's what I want, and I think that's what all of us want, to be able to enable all of our viewers to be able to get out there and fly. I mean, we don't want you sitting there watching consume our content, please, but we want you to be able to get out and enjoy yourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, and thank you, Bill. And it's funny, when the Mavic Pro first came out, I saw Ed Ricker posting those videos too, and I was like, man, who's this guy? And I feel like when that drone came out, I speak for myself here, but the drone community wasn't as established. And the Mavic Pro, man, even in like recent years, we're all so interconnected now. Like I remember when I first started making videos, I was like, all right, well, I'll post a few videos here and there and whatever. But now I feel like not only myself, but everybody is so interconnected through like a web, and we're all talking back and forth on Twitter and Instagram or whatever. And it's really awesome to see some of these events come together that DJI puts on, and we can all meet each other face to face, but also Kelly with Spin Up, being able to host an event like that. It progresses the drone community further exponentially, even more than a brand new drone coming out. Being able to meet up with people, it just accelerates everything so much, and I love that. It's so awesome.
It sure does. Well, I'm going to close up shop tonight. Wanted to get you guys clued in. First Saturday night in October at 10 o'clock. Circle that on your calendars. I'm not going to tell you any more about that. I know Marcus knows about it. So we're looking forward to doing that. And I'll get Billy clued in on that as well. Again, I dropped links in the description for Billy's channel, and you got to check out that video. Watch it 10 times like I did, because Billy probably has 10 views from me on that video alone.
Yeah, please keep viewing it.
That video, seriously, it's really worth it, and probably you guys ought to check out that place. Well, as always, thanks everyone so much again for tuning in tonight, and remember, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
Bye.
Oh.